And welcome to an all-new and improved Hazardous Verbal Waste. I'm your host, Shiro-chan. Today is April 7th, 2019. Got a lot of really cool stuff going on this week. So let's just get right down to it, shall we? In Yu-Gi-Oh! News, Yu-Gi-Oh! Seto Kaiba teases his Jump Force skills in slight trailer. Namco Bandai has released a sliver of a trailer giving us a glimpse at the next DLC character headed to So anime crossover fighter Jump Force. As revealed last month, it's the turn of Yu-Gi-Oh! Star Seto Kaiba, who will arrive alongside two as yet unannounced characters. The stoic young man is one of Yu-Gi-Oh!'s primary characters and wields his signature cards Blue Eyes White Dragon and Obelisk the Tormentor with devastating precision. Not one for pleasantries, Kaiba, a modern incarnation of Priest Seto, Kaiba is arrogant and generally disrespectful of others, though he does look out for his younger brother Mokuba. You can check out Seto Kaiba in action online. I will post a link in the show notes. If you look for the spot, it lasts about 20 seconds. There's no specific date for his release, but he will be a part of May's DLC drop. And Jump Force is available now on PS4, PC, and Xbox One. That's all I have for Yu-Gi-Oh! News this week. On to the next segment. In Magic the Gathering news, Magic's new War of the Spark trailer unveils the fate of key fan-favorite Planeswalkers. Last month, Wizards of the Coast revealed the latest trailer for their upcoming Magic the Gathering expansion, War of the Spark. One of the most strongly hyped sets in recent memory, War of the Spark is the culmination of a decade's worth of Magic storytelling. It focuses on the Elder Dragon Planeswalker Nicol Bolas in his grand scheme to solidify his position as the strongest being in the multiverse. And to that end, he's lured many Planeswalkers to the city world of Ravnica, where he unleashes an undead and all-powerful army of warriors upon them. In last month's new trailer, the focus is placed on Liliana Vess. This necromancer Planeswalker has had a long journey since her introduction in Lowen. Initially cruel and self-centered, she's grown to value her friends in the Justice League of Planeswalkers, called the Gatewatch, in a way she never could have imagined. But after defaulting on a pact she made a long time ago with 4 demons, her life and soul are forfeit to the broker of said pact, Bolas himself. So in this trailer, we see Liliana forced to lead Bolas's army against her friends, other Planeswalkers, and even the innocent citizens of Ravnica. At one point, she might have gone along with Bolas's plan with few regrets, but as you'll see in the trailer, that's not who Liliana is anymore. Last month, Wizards planned to unveil a number of new cards from the War of the Spark expansion. We'll hopefully see some of the new Planeswalkers from the set, as they are the focal point of War of the Spark. So much so, in fact, that every pack of War of the Spark will contain a Planeswalker. Stay tuned for more information, and you can check out the YouTube channel The Beat to learn more about this enormous Magic expansion. And in the meantime, you can also check out their analysis of what they've learned from that trailer. I will make sure to add a link to their YouTube channel in the show notes. That's all I have for Magic the Gathering news this week. On to the next segment. In gaming news, Switch owner with engineering background discovers Joy-Con drift design flaw. One hardware flaw about the Switch that a growing number of people, including myself, have been complaining about is the Joy-Con drift issue. This issue is characterized by the analog stick on a Joy-Con sending incorrect readings, thus causing the directional inputs to get stuck going in one direction, and the stick's axis also failing to recenter. A Switch owner on Reddit by the name of Rainbow Python may have discovered the reason behind this. Rainbow Python posted a thread on Imager showing close-up images of a disassembled Joy-Con and the parts related to its analog stick. This user has a background in electrical engineering, So using their knowledge, they deduced that the likely reason as to why the Joy-Con's analog sticks are susceptible to drifting is due to Nintendo's apparent poor choice of parts. Basically, moving the stick around causes the sliders inside to rub along the contact pads. The sliders have metal prongs, and the contact pads appear to be made out of graphite, which is softer than the metal prongs. Due to that, the contact pads wear out and microscopic debris are left behind, which then mess with the input readings, resulting in the drift. The tried and true method of fixing the drifting issue is to clean the analog stick with substances like rubbing alcohol and or compressed air. Nintendo itself even recommends scrubbing it with a dry toothbrush as another possible fix. But what works far better than anything is electronic contact cleaner. That said, this design flaw seemingly will cause even fixed Joy-Cons to redevelop the issue further down the line. So as Rainbow Python suggests in the post, Nintendo would have to create entirely new models of the Joy-Con with better materials in order to truly rectify the problem. I personally am experiencing this with my Joy-Cons. I haven't yet opened them up so that I can repair them as was suggested. I will do so later and give you guys an update on that. Also in gaming news, player quits match over opponent's Jigglypuff stalling. Over the weekend last week, an entire venue of Super Smash Bros. Competitors and spectators lost their collective minds over the actions of one Jigglypuff player. Did he cheat in some way? Go overboard after a win? Destroy a CRT? Yell obscenities at the audience? No, he simply played to the Pokemon's strengths in a favorable matchup, causing his opponent to get so frustrated that he unplugged his controller and left in a huff. Fighting games are all about matchups. Since characters often differ from one another in terms of move lists and playstyles, competition can sometimes begin right at the character select screen. In Street Fighter, for instance, Dalsum is almost always going to have an advantage over Zangief due to the way he can control space with his stretchy limbs. Super Smash Bros. Melee has a similar matchup in Jigglypuff vs. Ice Climbers, in which the floaty Pokemon is able to run away as soon as she gets a life lead, thereby keeping distance between herself and the duo's scary mix-ups and grabs. This exact scenario played out at Battle of BC3 in Vancouver, Canada last weekend, as the Super Smash Bros. Melee tournament reached the finals. Alejandro Chango played to Jigglypuff's strengths in a match against Ice Climber's main Chaucer Fobro Gilson, using Puff's hit-and-run gameplay to keep his opponent at bay. Fobro, wearing a custom shirt emblazoned with Free Foe to protest the tournament's banning of the Ice Climber's controversial wobbling technique, fought back admirably and ended up forcing a crucial fifth game to decide who would remain in the tournament. Throughout that fight, though, he looked frustrated. In previous games, Fobro regularly shook his head in apparent disapproval of Chango's tactics, and as he entered the final game of the match, he changed his in-game name to Play as a way to signal his criticism of Chango's keep-away game. When Chango continued to play defensively, Fobro's barely contained irritation boiled over. 5 minutes into the game, Chango held a slight 3-2 stock advantage thanks to his ability to float from platform to platform and avoid Fobro's Ice Climber's assault. Unable to make any headway, Fobro simply stopped moving. Chango, due to his life lead, had zero reason to approach an opponent that excelled in close quarters combat and waited at the opposite end of the stage, leading to a standstill. The commentary team complained, the audience complained. A fellow Super Smash Bros. Melee player, Johnny S2J Kim, held up 2 middle fingers in the front row to protest the Jigglypuff-fueled inaction on stage. Everyone booed, even the commentators. But in spite of all this, Chango sat stone-faced, refusing to engage until Fobro finally unplugged his controller and walked off stage. In the war of attrition, Chango had won, but no one seemed happy about it. Later on, popular Twitter account The Sir Toasty posted an edited clip of the match with the caption, "Melee at its worst." The mentioned video, which I will post a link to in the show notes, immediately caused divisions in the greater fighting game community on social media, split along predictable lines. Classic fighting game players saw nothing wrong with Chango's play, comparing it to Justin Wong's famous ability to play lame or turtle through many of his matches. The Smash scene, however, has a very different idea of what constitutes legitimate play. Due to the way characters like Fox and Falco have dominated tournaments, the community believes fast, combo-heavy matches should form the basis of competition. Anything else is disrespectful to those watching the fight, or so a vocal contingent of the scene seems to believe. Tactics like those that Chango put on display over the weekend are colloquially known as camping, a derogatory term for playing keep away when there is no reason to approach. While the Smash community has been embroiled in the ongoing wobbling discussion, a separate, less popular conversation has sprung up about the possibility of limiting the ways in which Jigglypuff can camp, with some players even wanting to ban her from competition altogether. These arguments typically revolve around how Super Smash Bros. Melee is perceived by viewers, with some worried that Jigglypuff matches are slow enough that they can turn people off from the game entirely. With Super Smash Bros. Ultimate gaining traction as the new hotness, this anxiety isn't necessarily unfounded, but it also highlights the differing values of the Smash community in general, where playing to the growing spectator class is sometimes considered more important than allowing competitors to use whatever tactics they need to ensure a win, even if those tactics aren't that exciting to watch. As more information regarding this story develops, I will let you guys know, and make sure to check the show notes for a link to that Twitter account video. Also in gaming news, Cyberpunk 2077 confirms feature RDR2 was criticized for missing. Almost everything about Red Dead Redemption 2 was universally praised. It's one of the best games of all time. That said, in the day of player freedom and dynamic scripting, many players didn't like how strict and confined quests were in Red Dead Redemption 2. Not only did you get a game over screen if you died, but if you strayed away from the path Rockstar Games had tightly designed even a little bit. This isn't a unique feature to just Red Dead Redemption 2, but it stuck out in the open world western more so than in many games. That said, for Cyberpunk 2077, CD Projekt Red is basically taking the opposite approach. In Cyberpunk 2077, there will be no game over screens unless you die. That's right, so no matter how much you approach a quest, no matter how badly you mess it up, there's no failing. The game just reacts and keeps going. This is being done because CD Projekt Red wants Cyberpunk 2077's quests to be unique player by player, meaning it wants to let players tackle objectives in any way they'd like. According to CD Projekt Red's quest designer Philip Weber, the quest team was constantly asking themselves what the dumbest thing a player could do, and in turn would build missions around this and make sure players would be able to do these dumb things. Speaking to German outlet GameStar, translated via Reddit, Weber provided an example, noting that players can do something as simple and dumb as stopping for a burger during a mission to protect an important client. If you do this, the client is probably going to die, but the world, the story, and the game will move on and adapt. Hopefully this feature allows players to roleplay the characters they want, but doesn't mean quests will be void of meaning and consequence. Given that we're talking about CD Projekt Red, I doubt the latter is the case. Cyberpunk 2077 is in development for PS4, PC, Xbox One, and possibly next-gen systems. For more news, media, and information on the highly anticipated game, be sure to check out comicbook.com's coverage of it, which I will provide a link to in the show notes. That's pretty much all we have for gaming news for this week. On to the next segment. Before we get to our next segment, a quick word from our sponsors. You know, when I'm hungry and I want something to eat, but there's nothing prepared in the house, it sucks. But with Blue Apron, I don't have to worry about having to go to the grocery store, portioning out the ingredients. Everything is done for me. You simply choose your meals. Their chef-design recipes include balanced Mediterranean meals, quick one-pan dinners, and top-rated customer favorites. They guarantee the freshness of all their ingredients and deliver them in an insulated box right to your door. Following the step-by-step instructions, you'll experience the magic of cooking recipes that their chefs create with your family's tastes in mind. I know it's super easy for me to do. I can't cook worth a darn, but with their instructions and all the ingredients perfectly portioned out, I'm a chef. So if you want to try out Blue Apron for yourself, go to blue-apron.evyy.net/HVW podcast and you can save $60 over your first 3 boxes. Sign up now at blue-apron.evyy.net/HVW podcast. Again, that's blue-apron.evyy.net/HVW podcast and start cooking. In Apple news, Apple's upcoming credit card is a lot cooler than you might think. Apple's special media event 2 weeks ago was unique for a variety of reasons. Though Apple didn't introduce anything groundbreaking or revolutionary, the event saw Apple jump headfirst into a number of new markets. Naturally, Apple's foray into the world of original TV programming generated the most amount of buzz, but the company's brand new credit card is intriguing in its own right. Per usual, there's only so much time for Apple to spend on any one topic during one of its media events, which is to say that there were a few notable details about the company's upcoming credit card, dubbed Apple Card, that didn't manage to make it into the keynotes. With that said, we've compiled a few worthwhile tidbits about the card that have since come to light over the past few days. First off, let's talk interest rate. Apple, during its keynote presentation, said that it would offer an interest rate among the lowest across the industry. While intriguing, the interest rate will be what you've seen before, which is to say somewhere in the 13 to 24% range. That said, TechCrunch points out that Apple will place users who sign up at the lower end of the tier that they land in due to their credit score. Apple's presentation on the Apple Card was a little rushed and, as a result, a tad confusing with respect to the virtual versus physical card aspect. In short, the Apple Card will reside in a user's wallet app and will include a virtual card number and CVV for any purchases a user may want to make over the phone. A physical card, as you would expect, can be used anywhere you'd normally use a credit card, though the cashback rewards are greater if you use the Apple Card on your iPhone as opposed to the physical card. What's interesting, though, about the virtual card number generated by the iPhone is that you can create a new one. As far as security goes, this is incredibly helpful. To this point, TechCrunch notes, but you can hit a button to regenerate the PAN, primary account number, providing you with a new credit card number at any time. This is great for situations where you are forced to tell someone your credit card number but do not necessarily completely trust the recipient. As far as signing up is concerned, people briefed on the matter have relayed that the sign-up process will just take a few minutes and can be accomplished right on the iPhone itself. What's more, any customer service issues that arise can be handled by contacting Apple support at any time via text message. So when will the Apple Card make its illustrious debut? Apple played fast and loose with the details, but we can expect it to launch sometime this summer. If you want to make sure you're one of the first to get the Apple Card, you can head over to Apple's website and hit the Notify Me option in the upper right-hand corner, and I'll make sure to provide a link to that in the show notes. That's pretty much all we have for Apple news this week. On to the next segment. In entertainment news, Netflix's US price increase will hit users in May. Netflix unveiled in January it would increase prices for US users and those in Latin American countries where it charges in US dollars. Told many subscribers this week that hikes will take effect in May, though the increases have been rolling out over the last few months. Those who signed up since Netflix announced the increases are already paying the higher prices. The basic plan is rising from $8 to $9, while the standard package, which offers HD streaming on 2 devices simultaneously, is jumping from $11 to $13. The premium plan, which offers UHD streaming on up to 4 devices at once, will cost $16 instead of $14. Netflix says it's increasing prices to help it pay for original shows and movies. Shows and movies such as Stranger Things, Our Planet, Black Mirror, and The Irishman aren't cheap. Netflix is also shelling out for other popular programming for its library, including Friends. It spent $12 billion on content in 2018, and that figure is expected to rise to $15 billion this year. That's pretty much all I have for entertainment news this week, and all the news for the week. On to the final thoughts. Alright, well, here we are at the end of yet another great episode of Hazardous Verbal Waste, and the first episode of Season 2, and the first episode to be hosted on Libsyn. Been a rocky start getting to this point. I did want to let you guys know that on April 6th, I went to Phantazium Comics and Games to participate in their 8th anniversary party. The actual anniversary, according to the store owner, was April 1st, but they decided to have the party over the weekend instead. A little bit about the store. Phantazium is a small mom-and-pop comics and game store in Federal Way, Washington. At least 2/3 of the store space is dedicated to retail space, with 1/3 dedicated to space where people can come and play games. At the party, there was a broad selection of people, both young and old, and everyone was having a good time. No one was interested in talking to me for this show, unfortunately, mostly because everyone was absorbed in whatever games they were playing. There was a group playing an EDH Magic the Gathering match in one corner, and in another, a weekly group of artists were drawing and talking about art. I do plan on sitting down with the owner sometime next week when it's a little less crowded so I can talk to her about her shop. So stay tuned for next week's episode where I will have that interview. I did also want to let you know that Hazardous Verbal Waste has its own website now. You can find us at hazardousverbal.com. There you will find links to the episodes, and also a blog with the show notes for each episode, with all the links that I mention throughout each episode, including this one. You can also, at the bottom of the page, find links to our social media accounts. If you want to get a hold of the show, there are multiple ways. You can leave us a message on Skype. The Skype ID is Ichimoto1. You can email us at hazardousverbal@gmail.com. And if you head on over to our website, there is a contact form you can fill out. And you can send me any kind of messages that you want, questions, comments, concerns, whatever. And I'll read them on the air as they come in. That's pretty much all I have for this week. This is Shiro-chan signing off. Peace.